What you saying, ladies and gents? It is your boy Bucket Sam, and we are back again today with another video. And today it is episode 2 of Football Rambling, and I cannot believe the feedback I got from the first one. I thought you'd all hate me waffling on my walk, but I've got to do what the people want. We are back again now for episode 2, and I'll be answering all of your questions. I've got over now 60 questions to answer over the next few weeks, and don't worry, I will get, and I promise you I will get to all your questions, but I'll only answer a few every week. And tonight we're going to talk about the weekend's results, some of the big major highlights and talking points from the weekend, and then I'll answer some of your questions, and we'll just see where I take this, because I don't really have a plan when I go into these. I just like to see where the natural flow leads, and as you saw last week, we spoke about everything. So let's start off with Everton-Chelsea, the first game of last night that I watched. And may I say, that game was absolutely brilliant. What a game. And Thomas Tuchel, wow. Do you know what? If I had my second hand, if I wasn't holding it, just imagine that's a clap, because he deserves that. He's now been manager there for 11 games, and they've won 9 and conceded 2 goals. 2 goals in 11 games. Who'd have thought that the Chelsea side under Frank Lampard had no brand, no image, no style of play, no defence? They'd be hot and cold, they'd score, they'd go through barren runs. And I think Thomas Tuchel is getting the best out of, in my opinion, the second most in-depth, deep squad in the league behind Man City. When you look at Chelsea, their squad is insane. They've got about 10,000 centre-backs on their books. Like, they could even loan out Tomori, which I'll get onto that in a minute. But I do think one thing we can take from Thomas Tuchel's reign already, the fact you know what formation every week, it's 3/5 at the back, depending on whether they have the ball or not. And yes, the personnel change, but he turned some players around. Let's go straight away to Zuma. Zuma was considered one of the most erratic and irrational centre-backs, along with Eric Bailly in the Premier League. And he'd play brilliant for 5-10 games, and he'd have some howlers. And he'd got all the attributes to be a top quality centre-back. And I mean top quality. He's fast, he's strong, he's good in the air. He's an overall brilliant player. And Thomas Tuchel has really just honed in on that. And the thing is, he just looks brilliant. And I can't get my head around it. The change in the play. And the biggest one for me, no doubt, has got to be Christensen. Christensen, in my opinion, about a month ago, I openly said this to a lot of people, maybe 2 months ago, just before Thomas Tuchel came in. I actually said, in my opinion, he was the worst centre-back in the Premier League. And you know what? I will take the L for this one, and I will hold it with pride. And I'm glad I was proven wrong, because we're starting to see the player that everyone thought he would be in the past. He's looked absolutely brilliant alongside Azpilicueta or Rudiger or Thiago Silva. All these players, all these defenders they've got on their books, they just look brilliant. And that's before I even got into the midfield and the attack. And Reece James in recent weeks, wow, he's really picking up some good form before the Euros come about, and he should be knocking on Gareth Southgate's door and saying, are you watching me? Are you watching what I'm doing? But yeah, and my boy Kai Havertz, he turned up, boys. He turned up. What did I say? I told you he could be up there with the likes of Mbappe, if he has got the potential to be. And I do think we saw just a little flicker to show you, just a little knock. You just saw him in the distance. There is a player in him against Everton. He flourished. He was on the inside left, inside right, behind the striker. He was going on to be the last man, making runs behind. He was quite clearly given a free role as a number 10, and I think he really took the moment, because he'd been out of the squad, as I said last week, and he's been gone missing, but he really took his chance, and I'm over the moon. Yes, he really should have got the first shot on target, but it doesn't matter. Made a goal. And the second goal, he'd been making the same run every time. It was just on Michael Keane's shoulder, because Ben Godfrey is an extremely fast centre-back, and he played very well. Jorginho, I think it was, finally played the ball in that he'd been screaming out for the entire game. And Jordan Pickford, I don't even want to start. The bloke comes running out and takes him out, and there you go, Kai Havertz wins the penalty. So really, it was brilliant for Kai Havertz, but also awful from Jordan Pickford. And you know my opinions, guys, of Jordan Pickford. I think he's just mistake after mistakes after mistakes, and he shouldn't be anywhere near that England squad. Yes, he made quite a lot of saves and kept Everton in the game and kept Chelsea at bay, but I still don't think he's good enough. But overall, Chelsea look insane, and I do think it did help, though, for Chelsea that Everton were out without Decore. I do think he's vital to their system to play alongside Allen, because Allen seems a little bit leggy. He's not the most energetic. He sits, and Decore is the engine in that midfield. I do think you could tell, because he was out with a suspension, that he was really missing. But overall, a brilliant result for Chelsea. And I have to admit, Thomas Tuchel, like, well played. And Lampard, this just shows you were not good enough and you shouldn't have been given the Chelsea job, because it can't be just Thomas Tuchel being a tactical genius. It also has to be down to the fact that you weren't good enough, and it was too early. And it's a real shame, because it was probably the dream job for him, but I do think it was too early, because all of his experience with Jody Morris was at Derby, where they'd got really a lone FC. The entire team was the main three players that built the team around were all lone players. Tomori was playing centre back, player of the season. Harry Wilson on loan from Liverpool. He's never really seemed to live up to what we all thought he would be, but he's on loan at Cardiff this year, and he's the most expensive loan in at the Championship, and he's doing very well under Mick McCarthy. And Mason Mount. Those three players are all extremely good. Two of them are playing in the Champions League. Sorry, one of them's playing the Champions League, one of them's playing the Europa. So it just shows you that those three players shouldn't have been playing in the Championship when they did. But Frank Lampard, I just don't think he was good enough. I think it was too early, and we'd seen that, as I was trying to say, those three players really did carry Derby into the playoff final that season. I do feel for him. I think he should have done what Steven Gerrard did, where Steven Gerrard's gone out, taken a big job elsewhere, and really got in a good team around him, and basically built something. And he's starting to build a brand, an image for himself. You see with Steven Gerrard, he's in love with the 4-2-3-1 system, passing out from the back with fullbacks bombing on. It's a very good style with the two holding midfielders both sitting, so it becomes a kind of a square, a block four at the back. So I think he should have done that. So Lampard, will he get another job? Who knows? I know he's been linked with a Celtic job, but I can't see it happening. But yeah, that leads quite nicely on to Rangers, and congratulations Rangers for your 55th Scottish League title. I do like to watch a lot of Scottish football. I have to admit, I was a bit reluctant, that's the right word, reluctant to watch the Scottish League, because I'd seen parts and I always thought it was a pretty poor standard. But I had a few people when I started the channel telling me to watch it and don't be so naive and give it a chance and start watching it. And I have done, I have to admit, and I've seen like it is a good standard. And Rangers and Celtic especially, there are a lot of other good sides, but I'll specifically talk about them because that is what everyone wants to hear about. I do think Celtic look extremely poor this season. They are going through a transition where we see some of the older players on their way out, like Scott Brown, his legs have gone. But the biggest thing for me is the poor and extremely poor transfer business they've done this season. And I really do worry, because at the moment Rangers got an influx of young players and people who want to play for Steven Gerrard, and they are getting players in constantly. They're not happy where they are. They want to take it to that next step. And as we've seen how well they're doing in Europe and how well they did last season. So I do really worry for Celtic. And I do think Rangers could really use this time and use these next few years to build on what they've already got. And I do think Rangers will be extremely successful and potentially maybe even champions for a few years, because Celtic have got an extremely big job and a rebuild job to do over the next few years. But yeah, that's my Scottish football roundup, and I will hopefully watch a lot more. If you guys can message me about your clubs and get me to watch certain games, because I do really want to go out after COVID to see some Scottish football. But anyway, before I get onto that, and my one highlight of this week, and this is one of my favourite things to see, it was the Arsenal-Burnley game. And there are quite a few talking points, so we'll start off with the biggest for me. It was Xhaka. What on earth was he doing? Like, Xhaka receives the ball just outside the 6-yard box, if you've not seen it. The ball's playing in, they're passing out from the back, and there are two players pressing him. When you play in this position as a holding midfield, passing out from the back, you receive the ball open, and he was facing towards his left to see his right back, Hector Bellerin, on his right foot. And what he should have done, what a normal holding midfielder would do, when the ball gets played into them, the first time they should be either opening up their body so they can play forward or play to the side, or first time pinging it straight out to the right back and so they can build. And he is able to do this, because for the first goal Arsenal scored, they did this. But for some reason, Xhaka decided, I'm going to take a touch, and it seemed quite an arrogant thing to do. It's like, I've got my time, I'm playing well at the moment, which he has been. And he plays off his right foot into Chris Wood, and then it deflects into the goal. And what my favourite part of this was Sean Dyche's face. If you haven't seen it, go watch Match of the Day. And they zoom into Sean Dyche's face when the goal goes in. He shrugs his shoulders, And we all know exactly what's going on in his head at this time. And this is what makes me laugh. Sean Dyche, I would try and do an impression, but it didn't sound very good. See what I mean? It's not very good, so I'm not going to do that again. But you could see Sean Dyche's smug little face knowing in his head, he's thinking, this is why we play 4-4-2. None of this nonsense passing around the back, because this is what happens. You give away sloppy goals. And so, yeah, I can't see Bernie ever passing out from the back for moments like this, because Sean Dyche looks so happy to see, look, my philosophy of 4-4-2 is the right way, none of this nonsense. But yeah, that is my highlight of the week for definite. I did think that was hilarious watching Sean Dyche's face. But yeah, now I think actually we'll now go on to your questions you have asked me. And as I said, I've had over 60 questions this week. So I will just go through them slowly. And I'll try and do them over time, but I won't be able to do everyone's in one go. And I apologise, because I don't think you want to just hear me answering your questions. So hopefully I will do another rambling after the Champions League, and so we can discuss that, and then I can answer some more of your questions, because there should be some brilliant Champions League games tonight, especially the Borussia Dortmund-Sevilla game. That's a huge game. Borussia Dortmund going into that game 3-2 up on aggregate with 3 away goals, and that is huge. But it's Sevilla. They've got no chance going into the Europa League if they go out, so they are going to have to go all guns blazing. So this should be a brilliant game. 2 completely different styles of play. Should be good to see what unfolds there. And the bigger game, the bigger talking point, Juventus-Porto. Juventus 2-1 down, but Juventus got that away goal in the last minute. So let's see if Ronaldo can clutch it, and let's just wait and see. I'm not going to say much. I'm not going to tell you my predictions, because I've not been going very well on my predictions this week. So the first question, and I'm not doing this, is when are you taking that bucket hat off? And how many times am I telling you the bucket hat never leaves? This is actually stuck to my head, stitched in. I wear it every day. I wake up, I go to sleep in it. It's never coming off. You are not seeing the barnet, okay? It's not happening. So stop asking me that question. I must get a question every day at least once. So the question I'm going to be discussing is, who is that from? That is from Chris, and this is, will Newcastle stay up this season? And I do think that is a brilliant question. And if you'd watched some of my predictions videos in recent weeks, I did discuss my thoughts on Newcastle this season. And I said it about 4 weeks ago when Callum Wilson was first announced that he was injured. I said Newcastle are down, because at the time, this might have been 3 or 4 weeks ago, he had scored 40% of Newcastle's goals. And then when I looked into this in a deeper stats level, because you know I love a stat, 80% of Newcastle's goals before this had come from Almiron, Saint-Maximin and Wilson. And all 3 of those players are injured. And the player they've got coming in is Joe Linton, and he is not good enough. I've said it before and I'll say it again, and you all know it. Joe Linton is not good enough. And I do really worry for Steve Bruce's side. And I think one thing that's annoyed a lot of Newcastle fans is how over the moon he was with the 0-0 draw with West Brom, when really they should be going there trying to win, because now look how close they are to that drop zone. I think, is it 1 point now? They're only 1 point, and Brighton are on goal difference joint with Fulham. And I do really worry for Newcastle. I think they've got one of the weakest squads in the Premier League. It's quite worrying actually, as a, well, I'm not a Newcastle fan, but I can imagine it is quite worrying for the side, because they just don't seem to have that creative spark. And against West Brom, they didn't create anything, and that's really worrying against the West Brom side who've conceded the most goals in the Premier League. So I do think Newcastle will be going down along with Sheffield United, West Brom. So I think it'll be Sheffield United 20th, West Brom 19th, Newcastle 18th, and I think it'll be very close between West Brom and Newcastle who takes that 18th spot, because I do think West Brom, and I keep saying it, they're 5 games now, five games have conceded 2 goals. Like, it's a pretty good record considering they're quite low down. I do think they will try and push, but I still don't think they've got enough quality to really stay up. But I do think they'll be pushing Newcastle, and I do think Newcastle are doomed. It's too much over-reliance on a few players. And yeah, so that's my answer on Newcastle. I do think Newcastle will go down. And the next question I did read was from George, and George said to me, what is going on with the Man United game? Could I explain? And my opinions on this game was, I watched it and I did say in my predictions video, Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he has, so any manager that has played Pep Guardiola over 4 times Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the only manager to have a positive win record against Pep Guardiola, and that just says it all. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer absolutely loves playing against Pep's style, where Ole Gunnar Solskjaer plays quite usually a low block against Man City, but I think he'd seen Man City are really playing without a real number 9 who likes to get in behind, and they played quite a very high line, and everything was extremely narrow. There were no gaps for the likes of Mahrez and Sterling and how have I just forgotten his name, and De Bruyne to get in the gaps and to really move on and push on, and Cancelo, who even knows where he plays. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactical awareness, and this is one thing I never usually say about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but that game was brilliant. He literally gave no space for any of those players. He didn't man mark them, he let them run around, but because there was no gap between the defence and the midfield, they got nowhere to operate in, and it just kept forcing the side, Man City, back to their goalkeeper. And I think it did really help they got the early penalty. What on earth Gabriel Jesus was doing, who knows? But I do think, fair play to Man United. But yes, that's all well and good, me saying well done Man United, but my biggest thing is everyone now thinks, oh, the city is red, but everyone forgets that Manchester United in weeks before couldn't beat West Brom, Crystal Palace, and they lost to Sheffield United. Like, that seems to be forgotten. And the thing is with Man United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I still struggle to see, and it's like the Frank Lampard situation, I still struggle to see what is their style? What is their style of play? Can you name me the 11 you know will be starting? And I don't think you can. And I look at that side and I do worry sometimes. Yes, it's all well and good. They play well against, well, no, I say they play well against bigger sides. They play well against Man City. I think it's now 8 games they've played between the two of them. And that's 4 wins for Man United, 1 draw and 3 Man City wins now, which is a brilliant record. But they love them because they love a team that keeps the ball and they like to counter. Like they did against Chelsea, they countered, but they were awful. And the thing is, Man United, I do worry, and I still don't think they're going anywhere under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and I still think they're hands down so far off the pace. When you think, imagine if Thomas Tuchel had a full season with this Chelsea side, I do think they'll be pushing with Man City, and Man United be 3rd, 4th, maybe, yeah, around 4th, because you've got the likes of Tottenham who again picking up form, and West Ham, where have they come from? But yeah, overall about the Man United game, I thought it was a good game. Very well played from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but still overall, I still can't get my head around Man United going into games very defensively and only countering. It's Man United, one of the biggest teams, one of the biggest global brands in football. They should really be getting in the best players in the world and really going for wins. They shouldn't be hoping not to concede, because that's the way they're going into these games. They're going into the games and building and basing their style of play on not conceding against the likes of Chelsea and Man United, and I know they tried that against Crystal Palace, so I do worry for them overall, especially with Daniel James. I think Daniel James is one of the worst wingers in the league. I think he literally has pace, that is it. And I remember when he made the move from Swansea, I remember that season he didn't get more than 10 goals. Like, he wasn't a goal scorer, and he was playing in, like, he sometimes played up front as a winger, and I still just think he's just got a lot of pace, but it helps when you're playing a counter-attacking style of play. And my next question is from, oh my word, what is going on with this camera? I apologise, guys. There we go. And my next question is from John, and this question, there was another little link I might do here, talking about 2 strikers who played in the game. How would I compare Gabriel Jesus' performance to Martial's? Gabriel Jesus, I still really worry for Man City in the sense that they still haven't really got a good striker at the club, because quite clearly Pep Guardiola doesn't want to play Aguero anymore, and that may be because his contract is up in the summer. I think it is, to be honest. I think we all know Aguero is going to be leaving in the summer, and I do think Pep Guardiola is not going to give him another contract, and Man City won't, because they would have already by now, and that's why I don't think he's playing. I think they're freezing him out and giving him a nice farewell, because no one seems to be talking the fact that Aguero can't make the starting 11. But Gabriel Jesus, I'm still not a fan. I still think he misses too many big chances. I don't like him. He doesn't, with a striker, I always think you've either got to be you've got to home in on one of your talents. So you look at, say, Andy Carroll, you know what he's going to do. He's good in the air. Whereas if you look at Jamie Vardy, he's extremely fast and will pressurise you. And then look at Maupay. Maupay, we all know him because he can't finish his dinner. No, that's a bit harsh, I apologise. But you know what I mean? You know, with every striker, you know exactly what the game is. Well, Gabriel Jesus, he's fast, but he's not rapid. He's all right in the air. He's not brilliant. He's not going to pressurise you, really. He's not going to win in the air. So he's not strong. Really, he's not got one thing which you think he's brilliant. He's very skillful. And he does work hard. And he does drop deep quite often, as we saw him giving away the penalty. But that's my problem for Man City. I do think he's not a great striker. I'm still not convinced. I do think Man City really need to go in to the market to get a striker. But who I think they should get, I will tell you in a minute after I speak on Martial. As you said, what do I think of the two strikers? I do think Martial played absolutely brilliantly. I think he was great. But the thing is, for me, everyone's saying, oh, it's brilliant, this is the Martial we all expect. But why is it that he can do it once 20, 30 games? This is the Martial that everyone thought would be there every week, when at the time he was the most expensive 18-year-old in the world, when it was about 50, 40 million. But the thing is, for me, he doesn't do it enough. Quite clearly, he doesn't do it enough, because we're praising him for holding the ball up well. This is what you should expect from a £50 million striker. And there's a reason why he doesn't get into the France national team, because in my opinion, I don't think he's good enough. And I still think, and yes, a lot of Man United fans are saying, oh, this is what he'll be consistent. He won't be consistent. This is what he does. It's similar to Rashford, and I know a lot. This is again a controversial opinion. Rashford is a lot better than Martial. I'm not saying that. The thing is, with the Man United two forwards, Martial and Rashford, they are both, in my opinion, quite inconsistent. One week they're there, one week they're not, and that you can't have that. You look at the likes of Kane. Kane, I read a stat yesterday. This is his 8th season now. He's played for Tottenham, and the longest goal drought Kane has had is, I think, 4 games. I read 4 games, which is insane. Over across 8 seasons in the Premier League, 4 games, or it might be a goal contribution over 4 games. Whereas Martial doesn't do it. I think he's only scored over 10 goals once since he's joined Man United, which isn't good enough. So I'm now going to lead on to the next question, because we've been talking about strikers, and I think it flows on quite nicely. My next question is from, who is that? Billy. Billy, okay, this is a good question, Billy. Who are my top 3 strikers in the world right now? And put them in order. Oh, what a question, Billy. That's a tough one, that is. Well, for me, definitely not Martial. And definitely not Rashford, as I've just said. And Gabriel Jesus, no way. And one player who would never get anywhere near it is Maupay. The bloke cannot finish. And I don't know why I keep talking about it, but he just cannot finish, in my opinion. But we'll talk about the top 3 strikers. For me, I do think there are quite a few players which are just on the fringe with this. So who am I going to put as my top 3? That's such a brilliant question. Oh my word, Billy. You've really got me here. I should have really... Do you know what? I'm going to go straight in. Number 3, Romelu Lukaku, the Inter Milan striker. I absolutely love him, and I think it was Man United's biggest mistake, and I still think it will haunt them to this day, them selling him. Because you cannot deny it, Lukaku is an absolutely brilliant player. The bloke right now has got the most goal contributions in Serie A. He has scored the 2nd most amount of goals behind Ronaldo, and has got the most assists in the league. The player, his goal scoring record, wherever he goes, is brilliant. He had 1 iffy season at Man United, and everyone seemed to laugh about his first touch. Well, if you watch him now, I don't think you'd be laughing at his first touch. The player is hands down one of the best strikers in Europe, and we've seen it for years. And for me, he's underrated and underappreciated, and it became quite a meme. And it did hurt me, because I genuinely think he's one of my favourite players. I love the way there is no other player who is so fast and so strong. He's built like he should be one of the slowest players in the world, but when he gets the ball and his head goes down, no one's stopping him. And if he backs into you, if he takes the ball on the outside of his left foot and he holds you off, you know for certain he will spin any centre-back in the world, whether he goes on his right foot or he goes on his left foot. We've seen when he's been at Inter Milan, he has lost quite a bit of weight. He's still very big, but they've homed in on his speed and his pace. And now, not only, as I said, he's a goal scorer, he's a contributor. He gets a lot of assists. Who'd have thought Lukaku most assists in the entire Serie A? And he's been part of an Inter Milan strike force with him and Lautaro Martinez. You like that little Lautaro? I've been practicing that. Lautaro Martinez. The two of them up top together have been a formidable duo. Like, you know, that's why they're top of the league in Serie A, and I've had them down all season to win the league. I may eat my words soon, who knows, but I do think it helps that they're out of the Europa League and the Champions League. I do think they're gonna do bits. They're gonna do bits this season because they haven't got the fixture list like everyone else does. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see with that. But that's Lukaku is number 3. There you go. I'm pretty sure he's the top goal scorer in Belgium's history. Who knows? Who knows? I don't want to start blowing facts I'm not entirely sure about. But now let's go on to my second best striker. And my second best striker, there's 2 players now I know they're going to be picked. But it's who is number 1 and who is number 2. Oh, do you know what? Number 2, Harry Kane. And I think the reason why Harry Kane isn't number 1, because Harry Kane is not your typical striker. He's not your typical number 9. He can play anywhere, really. And I love the player. And you've seen this season, him and Son have been an absolutely unreal duo. And I think Son's been crying in recent weeks because Kane and Bale seem to have a little bit of a thing going on. You've seen them flirting with their little duo. But yeah, I do think Kane, hands down. The player gets injured every season for a month or so, but he still seems to play absolutely unreal. And I actually do fancy them for the League Cup this year to beat Man City, and I think he'll be a massive part of that Tottenham winning side, but who knows. But yeah, I do think Kane is number 2 for the second best striker in the world. And number 1, you'll know it, he has to be the best striker in the world. And I read something yesterday and had a bit of a discussion over social media with a fan who said that Luis Suarez is a better player than Robert Lewandowski. Robert Lewandowski is the best striker in the world and up there with one of the best strikers in history. And one of my favourite things about him is, one of my things that really bugs me, is when players don't celebrate against their old clubs. I find it quite disrespectful. If, say, I'm trying to think of a good example. Okay, we'll talk about Robert Lewandowski, as I was trying to say. If I was a Bayern fan, I'd want Robert Lewandowski to celebrate, whether it's against his old club or not, because at the end of the day, he's a Bayern Munich player. I don't get this respect thing when they don't celebrate. Like, you wouldn't do it. If you saw an ex in public and you're with your new partner, you wouldn't like be respectful. Come on, you'd be toxic. You'd celebrate. You put your arm around your girlfriend or your partner and rub it in their face. So why don't they do that in football? Be toxic. And I love Lewandowski because Lewandowski now has scored 19 goals against his old side, Borussia Dortmund. And as we saw against the Bayern v Borussia Dortmund game, he scored a hat-trick. And my God, did he celebrate? Of course he did. And I absolutely love that about him. He absolutely goes mental. It's like it's his favourite thing, and I love that about him. So yeah, and he is now getting so close to, I think it's Gerd Muller's record for the most goals in one season in the Bundesliga. And I do think he's absolutely brilliant, and it's such a shame he plays for Poland. Like, and no disrespect to Poland, but if he was in a top European side, national side, he could on his own carry his team to so many trophies. So it's a shame he's at Poland, but then again, he's a Polish icon. He's been player of the year at Poland for God knows how many years running now. But yeah, and I do think it was extremely unlucky. I know the seasons were all terminated last year and the Ballon d'Or was dropped. I definitely think he would have won the Ballon d'Or last season with that Bayern side that just could not stop winning. He was a huge part to that, because the thing is with Robert Lewandowski, as I said earlier, with Gabriel Jesus, when I compared the two, you know what you're going to get with Robert Lewandowski. He's an absolute sharpshooter. He can score goals. He'll score wonder goals and he'll score tap-ins. He can do anything, and he's part of a Bayern press. And his energy, I read this, he's in the top 5 percentile for all strikers across Europe for being one of the most successful presses, because he's unreal. If he pressurises you, he's going to nick that ball off you and he will most likely score. Yeah, he will. So yeah, that's Lewandowski for me, has got to be the number 1 striker. And I don't think it's a debate. And the next one is my next question now. This is an extremely odd question. And who knows why I've been asked this, but as I said, I'm going to try and answer all your questions. If you were a sea creature, what sea creature would you be? What a ridiculous question. Okay, I'm going to answer it. I've got to be nice and I've got to answer it. So I would probably say, is it a plankton? Is that the thing from SpongeBob, the little things? Because right now, as a West Brom fan, that's how I feel like plankton. I feel this big and this irrelevant. So there you go. If that makes you feel better, Mike, there's your question. I'm still not sure on why you've asked me that, but there you go. As I say, I answer all these questions on this channel. And the next question, I've got 2 more questions I'm going to answer. And the first one we'll start off with is, after COVID, will you be going to do many match day vlogs? And the plan is, after lockdown, I've saved up a lot of money so I can go to a lot of football games. I'm hoping to go all around Europe. I want to go to, I've got a list of about, across the next 10 years or so, I want to go to about, this is really bad, 230 stadiums I've got a list of, which is insane, across the world. And that's anywhere from teams in Bali to teams in the MLS. So I know that's really bad, but I just love football. So next year, I'm hoping after COVID that I'm going to do quite a few matchday vlogs. And one thing I'd love to do, and I'm obsessed with, is stadiums. So I want to go and do a lot of stadium tours, and I'll take a camera with me and I'll film it all, and I'll do a voiceover after for you all. So you can see a lot of these stadiums. One stadium I'm definitely going to do next year is the new Tottenham Stadium. That looks absolutely insane, like a ridiculous stadium. I want to do Barcelona. I've done the tour, but I want to go for a game as well. Oh, sorry, yeah. These, I want to go for a stadium tour, and I also want to do match day vlogs at these games across. I want to go to Rangers and Celtic. That's no debate. I want to potentially do Arsenal, Tottenham, Man United, Man City, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Borussia Dortmund, Bayern. And I want to go back potentially to Lisbon maybe, because I did Sporting Club de Portugal last year, so I did the same tour of Lisbon, and as I said, I went to the Benfica game, and I want to do loads of things like that. I want to go all across Europe, visiting stadiums, going to games, even just anybody, and a lot of English teams. I'll be doing a lot of non-league football because I'm obsessed. I do a lot of non-league football. So yeah, in answer to your question, I'll be going here, there, and everywhere. As you can tell, I'm getting excited, and I can't even get a sentence together because I'm that excited about going back to games and going to stadiums. That's why I'm like, oh, Portugal, oh, England, oh, there. That's why I'm all over the place, because I cannot wait to go back to games. And yeah, and who I'll be going with, who knows? I may be bringing some mates along. I may be going with my girlfriend. I may go with my dad. I may go with my brother. Who knows? We'll see. There may be quite a lot of features on this channel, and I will be visiting, hopefully, people I've met on YouTube and going to see their teams play at their home ground. They can show me around. So yeah, I'm excited for next year because I cannot wait for lockdown rules to end, so I can go basically just tour all of Europe and see as many grounds as I can. And the final question is from Lauren. I can't believe, I don't know why she hasn't just asked me this face to face, but we'll answer this, and I think this is a brilliant question. She has asked me, if you could have a job in football, what would it be? And this question I did read about a day ago, and I still can't decide, because one thing I really would love to do, and maybe in the future if this is possible, I'm going to try and get in touch. I would love to work with a football, maybe as being a football reporter, and going all around non-league football and reporting on the games. Maybe if I could do it on TV, that would be mad. But yeah, doing a lot of reporting. So like, you know, on Sky Sports when they go to a reporter at a game, maybe do that for non-league or any league side. But I'd just love to work in punditry and analysis. Before COVID, it would have been coaching, and I had started planning to go into coaching, but I have realised after COVID, I think my love is for analysis and reporting, hence the videos, and why I love talking about football. I am obsessed. I'm obsessed with all European football, and I do think I could use my knowledge, and this is why I'm doing it on this platform. Maybe this could lead on to bigger things, whether I could have my own podcast and get people on every week, or whether I get a job in football, whether I just carry on doing this as this grows, who knows. But mainly I just want to be doing punditry and reporting, because I cannot wait to go back to games. Because before COVID, in that first break, at the time when you could go back to non-league football, I was visiting 3 non-league games a week, and I wasn't filming it. All I was doing was just taking a photo and putting it on my Instagram. So I cannot wait after lockdown to start visiting all the football games. And what we'll do, everyone, I know you'll kill me saying this, but my brother is a semi-professional footballer, my little brother, He's just turned 18. So hopefully, who knows, we could be doing and going watching him play, and you guys could come with me with this camera and we could watch him go all around the country. Who knows, he probably won't let me, but we'll go to the occasional game and support him. But yeah, so a lot of plans for next year. So in answer to your question, Lauren, I think football reporting and punditry would be absolutely brilliant if I could, but who knows, I'll have to see what the future holds. What I'm going to do is just carry on with the YouTube channel because it's growing extremely fast now. We have hit 720 subscribers. We've not even been going 3.5 months now. And yeah, my target when I first started, we've already hit. My target at the start was just to be consistent, and it wasn't about the numbers. It was just so that people would watch me. And the fact that a lot of people are watching, there's a lot of love for this channel. I appreciate all of you and appreciate you all watching my videos. So please keep asking more questions as you go on, and yeah, hopefully everyone stays well and safe, and I will see you hopefully on Thursday for my UCL Champions League roundup. I'll give you my predictions now because a lot of you won't have stayed this long. I think Juventus will get a 2-0 win and go through, and I think Sevilla will beat Borussia Dortmund, but hopefully a load of you won't have stayed this long and you won't see this. But yeah, this is my second video of the Rambling series. And yeah, I'll see you on Thursday to round up all the Champions League games. Thank you guys. Bucket Sam, over and out. Goodbye.